Good afternoon, good day, hello, whatever time it is. Doesn't really matter. I am trying to remember. This is too thin. This tape is too thin. Um, try to get set for the day. So, like, I'm already ready to go before I press play, but then I also try and be on time. And if you've been watching for a while, you know that I am neither of those things. So, I'm just going to prep my paper. And yeah, we'll talk about what we are doing after I get all of the dog hair out of the tape that I just put on there. So, right. When we drive around where I live, there are always these trees that every time we pass them, I'm like, I really want to paint those. I really want to paint those. And today I'm going to paint them. So I had to ask my husband what they were called. And then I had to search my phone for pictures that I've taken. And I found some, and then I found some on Google as well. And I just want to play with them. These, they're Norwegian spruce trees. They're called gran. But they are a type, I just looked them up in Wiki, a Norwegian spruce tree. And I printed out some pictures as well that I'll show you. One from my car. And some that I found online. And I think I'm probably going to try these trees a couple of times. They're just like really kind of cool trees. The thing that makes them unique is that they don't have lower branches. So as they grow, whatever can't reach the sun, like the needles or the leaves, will fall off. But it takes the branch with it. So there's really just, leaves on the top kind of half of the tree for the most part. And it makes for a very interesting forest scene. So that's what I want to play with today. I was thinking about doing some flowers because I'd like to kind of expand on the card selection I have that I can kind of make quickly. So I might, if there's time, just do some kind of small flowers, really small scale, because they'll be going on cards. But I haven't really figured out exactly what I want to do with that one. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But that's what today is. Today we're doing this forest thing. And as soon as I'm done taping this, I will show you the pictures that I printed out so that you have a visual as well. I'm not going to paint these pictures exactly. I'm going to take the trees and then kind of make my own scene. And if I remember correctly, this is that super strong tape. For a painter's tape, it's really pretty strong, so I probably don't want to rub too much on that. All right, so I have another piece for later in case we have time for stuff. And then I have some other small pieces here for flowers in case of that. And then I have a container of olives that I was going to munch on for lunch that I never got to do, which you don't need that. And I have paper everywhere because I've been printing out some watercolor pieces that will be sold as prints. And that's been my day so far, really. I've been in here. I had a meeting this morning. And Yeah, okay, brushes. Yeah, so I think I'm going to try you because you might be you and you. I don't think I'm going to need a detailed brush, but I'll grab one just in case. I'm sorry. Oh, you know what I did not do is I did not set up my computer. I think I got everything else set up. Yep, that's all done. This is all done. That's all done. And here we are. All right. So, remove these brushes out of the way. What are you? I know what you are. Oh, now you're on the floor, so it doesn't matter. And get these brushes set up so I know what I want to grab when. I'm kind of a geek and I put them by size. So when I want to switch brushes, I have an idea. All right, and this one. So this is like, what did I say it was? A Norwegian spruce. This is a cool picture that I found online that was free. So I guess if it's free to use as a picture, it's probably also free to paint. You just need to move the mic a little closer. So I like the idea of the sun coming through. So I printed that for that reason. This is a picture that I printed for my car as we're doing 80 kilometers an hour down the road in the snow. But as you can see, the I don't know if you can, well, yeah, I guess you can see the the tree stump. No, it's not a stump. What is this piece called? Oh, I'm such an idiot. Okay, the actual tree part, like the tree part. It's usually darker at the bottom, and then as it's losing its branches, it gets lighter. So it's always like a two-tone thing, and then there's some leaves on the top. And like this is an outward facing tree, so there's some leaves on it here. Because they will keep the leaves where the leaves get sun, and if they don't, then they fall off. And this was another picture. These branches haven't fallen off yet, but you can see some of them in the background. Like there aren't any leaves down here. They're more just up in this area. And this also had the same kind of idea of the light shining through. So these were the three pictures that I printed today. This is what I usually see, although it's clearer because we were driving fast. And yeah, so I'm going to make some semblance of this kind of these type of trees in this kind of setting. May or I don't think I want a path through it. Yeah, so that's what today's thing is. We're going to paint a Norwegian spruce tree forest. So let me just get these set up so I have references over to the side that I can refer back to. And yeah, just put those there. All right, so first, I want to have like the light coming through in the background. So I'll probably do a really light wash of blue and then some like yellowy, orangey kind of sun to pop through. And then in all of these pictures, like in this one in particular, you can see like there's things in the background. So there's more trees back here. So there is like background for the image, like the sun is coming over the trees or mountain, whatever is in back there. So I'm going to try and do that one too, but I think it'll be like a second layer. But yeah, so that's the plan for today. And that means there will be some drying as well. And I want to make some colors. So I'm probably going to use what's on my palette already, but I think I'm actually probably just going to use what's on my palette. I will just moisten this up. Sorry if you don't like that word. It's amazing how many people hate that word. Dated someone who hated that word. And then I'm going to add some more paint as I go along. So I also want to make a reddish brown to kind of get that middle stage of the tree. I really want that to come through, that it's like a two-tone tree. So I think I will use this yellow here for that wash, and then after that dries, I think I will mix that red brown that I want. So get that all set. Don't think I'll be using any purple. I will be using this darker green. And this is why I don't like to clean off my palette completely, because what a waste of paint. All right. So first I'm just going to go through and put that under there so it's a little bit more flat with some clean water and just wet the whole page for the background. And it's not too warm, but I have to have the window closed because the construction trucks are out building that road, and it's kind of loud if I don't, so it will get warmer in my office with all of the lights and everything, so I'll have to go pretty quickly. So just want to make sure it's all even-ish, and that's good. And then I'm going to stay with this big brush and just kind of create the wash for the background. So I'm going to have a lot of blue up here, and then I'm going to come in with some clean water and the yellow and put that around this area. I don't want to go any higher than that, but soak all of this up. I think I'll just do that. And then for the bottom, I'll just come in with a wash of, what do I want to wash of, actually? I don't know what I want to wash of. I think I'm going to come in with a little bit of yellow ochre though. Yeah, because that'll be a nice highlight on the ground. And then I have not prepped it, but I'm going to take some Aussie Red Gold beautiful orange color, mix it in there, and I'm going to come along the sides here. Excuse me. Ugh. I'm just going to smooth those out so it's not as strong. I might come in with a little bit more blue. Kind of deepen that top. I think I use cerulean and it's kind of starting to dry. So I'm just going to stick with that color for now, and I might deepen it up later. But I'm going to stop around there so that I have a good buffer between them. And then I'm going to come in with a little bit more yellow, and I'm going to go with the Hansa Yellow Light and kind of blend this down just a little bit. Still keeping, hopefully, that buffer between the blue and the yellow, so I don't have green in the sky. Which it may actually not matter at all if there's a forest back there, if I decide to put one. So I'm going to stick with that. Maybe put in just a little bit more yellow ochre because it's really light. Forests aren't really light. And just blend these. I don't really have like a very set plan in my head. I just know an idea, an ish. So we're just gonna take it as it comes. All right. So let me dry that and get that set, and then we can start painting. All right. So that's the wash of the background. And then we'll do another wet layer on top of that so that I can get, like in this case, some of these like silhouette type things in the background. Right, and we're gonna, I want to actually have like a decent sky, but I also have to kind of plan out what is going to happen where. So if I use like this photo as kind of a base, so like this is going to be the entire forest floor. And then there will be a strip here that's kind of in the background, which then kind of clears, then kind of gets covered by this background. So I could lower it a bit and have that be there, and then the trees just go up. Like the background isn't the most important this wash, because it's going to be covered by a lot of stuff, but there is a lot of white space on this picture where the background is going to pop through. So I think let me think. So I think if I do a wash, I really want to figure out where. I think this like background forest should stop like right under. So then it will be around this area. And then the trees will come up at all different points going forward. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And I want to use a kind of different color. So I'm going to do some mixing before I move on. I'm going to add some Quin Deep Gold over here and get that like really bright color. And then I think I'm going to add some brown to it. To deepen it up and make it more the color that I want. And I think that is really nice, and it will dry a little bit lighter. So I think that'll work out really, really well. And then for this background, I think that's where this brown that's on my palette, it's kind of like brown with like black, or probably mix some Payne's gray in there. So I think I might use that in the foreground in certain areas for like the forest floor. And then I want to mix up, I have this green over here, so I will this and I'll add some brown to it, and I think that will be the color for the background. I think I'm going to use some green petite. Should really learn how to say these colors. Kind of like a olivey green, but this is that paint that is made with minerals, so it actually has different hues as it dries, and it kind of goes into like a brown area. So it's like multi-dimensional. I have a few of these, and I just love working with them, especially for nature. Lurking and hosting for cozy art vibes. Lurk all you want. What did we say that we were going to make that? Make that a thing when you type it with the exclamation point. We should figure that out. Okay. So this will be the foreground forest. My Payne's gray is already dried. That's okay. I have 2 shades of green, which will work for now, and I'll probably be dipping in as I go along. So let me stick my arm in the way and at least get some water in the pan so I can grab them fairly quickly. Bookish green. Yeah. I think that'll do. So now I have to do another wash on here. So lots of water, not so much moving. I don't want that color to go anywhere. I want it to stay where it is. I don't want to really reactivate it. It will get reactivated to an extent, but the less my brush kind of travels over it in this step, the more it will stay where I had put it. And the water is not going to be as even or as nice, but I would like to touch it the least amount that I can. So now I'm going to come in and use this green apatite, and then it's going to move. It's going to move a lot, so I'm going to come down just a little further, kind of make like the beginning of the background forest, and it's going to just be uneven and and just background, right? But I do want it to kind of look like a forest. So yeah, and then this color, because of how it's made and what it is, it will change as it dries. And I'm just going to add a little more color, not everywhere, because I kind of want like a halo effect with the lighter and then deeper colors in certain areas so that it will be, I don't know, just because I want to. How's that? So there is our background forest. And I'm going to let it dry a little bit. I'm not going to dry it with the heat gun. I want to have a little bit more control because I do want this is a really concentrated value of that same green. I do want to have some control, but I want it to spread as well. And I want it to go a little bit higher, just in certain places. So I think I'll just add some of this darker value down here at the bottom a bit. Kind of unevenly, not solidly. Just, and as you can see it's still spreading really nicely, but it's like another layer of trees, you know. I don't want to cover up everything that I've just put. And you can see also that it's not spreading as much because the paper is drying. So just tap that in and let it be very organic and kind of messy. And there is our background forest. And then I think, what am I thinking? I was actually thinking of making that a little bit lighter, but I don't think I'm going to now. But I am going to add a little bit of Prussian blue up into the sky up here. And this has really started to dry, so I need to work a little quicker. And with a little bit more water. So I want different values of the sky in certain areas because all of this is going to kind of be covered by trees, right? So there's the beginning of a sky. We'll just take some clean water and kind of smooth some of this out while that's doing its thing down there. And just soften the edges here so it's more fading. But I do like that. And I do like the yellow, and I think I'm just going to keep that as it is. And I think I'll dry that there. I was going to add some more of this brown in the foreground, and it's still wet here, so I can here. But if I add it over here, it's dry. So, not that it's a bad thing per se, but I do want it to move and become softer. So, need to make sure that we wet all of this. And then we can come in. And usually the darkest parts are right in the front and the sides. And just add a little variation there. And I think I will stop there and dry it. All right, so that is everything. Everything for background. So we've got the sunrise here, pretty decent sky becoming more alive, foreground, forest floor. So now we just need to start with trees. And this can be wet on dry, so I don't need to like wet the whole paper anymore. I don't really want things to start spreading. So I think we're just going to start with this lighter color that I plan to use for the trees. It's like a mix of brown and Quin Deep Gold. And let's just start in the front, I guess. These trees are going to go, because they're so tall, they're going to go past. And there's going to have like lots of like little kind of branches coming out. Different lengths and sizes and all of that, because that's what they look like. So I'll put them in with this lighter. Kind of want to make sure that it stays wet for that. And I really shouldn't try and overthink this too much. But then the rest of the trees, the rest of the tree will have branches and leaves and stuff. So we'll do that in like a kind of a second pass. But what I do want to do is grab some of this dark brown over here. And start adding it up in here. I actually think I should use like a bit of a mix. Maybe not in this one because it's really in the foreground, but grab some of that lighter and then blend them. And add some of this darker brown, just on some of these lower, because it's like a two-tone tree, right? And I think just gonna mix in just a little bit of Payne's gray as well to make it a little bit darker, because that's what it looks like. Up at the top, I think it goes back to this darker brown, but I'm gonna lighten, add a little bit of water so it's not as dark. And then I don't know if I actually want to do leaves now, if I just want to do all of the, I think I'm just going to do all of the trees first, right? So there's a little wonky one in the front, and I'll do over here, and I'll just make various sizes. various thickness. I'm not going to worry too much about the bottoms here because there will be like other smaller trees, different types, babies, etc. But I'm just going to place them in different areas, different heights. And then the further they go, the thinner they will be. So this one should be a little bit thicker. But it's also younger, or it can be. And also what I'm going to do, which I probably should have done before, is mix up more of that color. I'm going to take a lot of water, add a lot of water into this brown. And then these will also be trees in the background. Just thin. So then we have like a depth thing going on too. Now I'm going to turn this sideways so I can continue and not put my hand in any wet paint. And I'm just going to make a lot of different lines. I'm going to make sure that this is really watery because I want it to be very light. And really should just go this way. I imagine that I'm going to put some kind of like smaller trees, bushes, whatever, in the foreground here to kind of cover these, where this meets. And I'm going to try and be as sporadic as possible while still keeping a balance. But these are all of the really like far background trees. So just pop little ones in here and there. So fairly decent background. Forest usually has a lot of trees, so I really want to make sure that the background makes it look like there's a lot of trees, and that I do not put my arm in wet paint. So I think that's good for now. And I didn't even put my arm in red paint and wet paint, so hooray. I'm not going to worry so much about the color difference in the back. What I am going to do though is I think I'm going to take this green aptite color and water it down a lot. Let's just get a piece of paper to test on. because I want it really, really light to kind of match the background trees, because the background trees are going to have leaves as well, obviously, but more just up at the top. And you probably wouldn't see too many of these broken limbs on the background trees, but I might add them in sporadically once I figure out where all of the leaves are going. So maybe even lighter than that, actually. A lot more water. Because I can always make it darker, but it would be really hard to make it lighter. Yeah, much better. It's really like pretty sage green. So I'm just going to add some light leaves very sporadically, because these trees are not even remotely close to being even in leaves. They're really wonky trees, which is really why I like them. And they'll come and go at different levels. And just be a jumble of leaves in the background. I always feel like when I do this part of it, like that these are just going to look like scribbles, and they won't look like leaves at all. And they won't even look like trees. But somehow, at the end, it all comes together. And I don't really know how that happens, because these are just really sporadic splashes of paint. But it doesn't really matter what I think, because it just happens. I just want to make sure that I definitely get tree shape in, and I want to stay very sporadic. And I do expect most of this to be covered up with trees that are in the foreground. So I'm not going to go too crazy or be too specific. But when stuff pops out, or when there's a break, you know, I do want you to see that there are trees in the background. I'm not going to do these trees justice, I don't think. I did just put my hand in wet paint, damn it. But I'm going to try. I've always wanted to paint these, no matter who I'm with. I say it every time. If I'm with my friends, my husband, whatever. So I asked my friend what I should paint today, and she's like, how about those trees you always want to paint? Yeah. But then I had to learn the name and look up, find pictures, which I did have some, but driving very fast on a long, windy road, you don't get the best pictures. Okay. What do you think? Do those look like trees to you in the background? Definitely one of those magic things where it just works. I'm not going to go over this tree in the foreground because the paint will be darker and will actually cover up a lot of that. I'm going to stay just with using this color on just the lighter trees. Some of these darker ones will have different leaves. When we go to Sweden, we see these trees a lot. There's like a big group of them along the road. And to me, they're just kind of fascinating. Big bunches of leaves in places and then nothing. So, all right, that's kind of enough of the background trees. So now I have to go with foreground trees, and I have to try not to overthink this. And I do want some like actual like medium trees as well, but I should probably dry these leaves before I go any further, so I don't have a mess of green and brown, I guess. 1 second. All right. So now we'll continue. I'm probably will. No, not probably. I definitely have to mix some more of that color. I think this is a little too dark. Yeah. That'll do. All right, so we have a decent sized tree there. I do want a really big tree in the foreground here. So I'm just going to come straight up here. and it's going to go out of view. And I'm going to spend just a little time on the bottom here so that it makes sense. And I'll even this up a little. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight, but can't also be very kooky. And then I want to, I think I'm actually just going to dump in some Payne's Gray at the bottom. And that might be too much though with just those colors, so grab fairly strong value and put that in there as well. And then it can blend as it goes up. And on this one, you'll definitely see these branches, broken branches. So different sizes, different lengths, thickness, shapes, all of that. And then you'll see some leaves on the these are ones that could be like peeking out from the back, you know. But I want to make sure that because I use that darker color, that it blends where it's met. So generally these trees are really dark at the bottom and then fade to this like beautiful like honey brown color. Up, and then there's a bunch of leaves. So there's like, I guess, our main tree. And then just add some more. Hopefully not get my hand in paint. And this one stop there. And there will be like forest floor and all of that in the front. So I just want to make sure that I have enough trees also in the foreground. It's supposed to be, you know, fairly, it's a forest, you know, there's a lot of trees. But I don't want to spend as much time on the ones that are in the background. I just want the detail to go to the foreground ones. And then figure everything out. On some of these though, I'm going to have a darker bottom because that's kind of what they're known. For, by, whatever. That would makes them distinguishable. And they're kind of two-toned. And yeah, I guess we can have a little bit of some of these trees that come out. Also, what they're known for, these like broken branches. And the further away they are, the smaller the branches will be. I think that's pretty good. Maybe I'll just do some thin lines here in this one. That's like the extent, right? You wouldn't see anything further than that. It would all blend. So now, I don't even know what color green this is. I think it's a mix that I made. It's very spruce color like, so it's gonna be pretty good. But how dark are we talking? I think this here will be good for some of these background trees, like these like medium further away ones. So just looking at the pictures to see, there's not really a big color difference, but I think there naturally would be. So and I'm trying to be proportionate to how far away these trees are, right? And there's no leaves down here where these stems are, so I'm gonna stop there and maybe just fill in a little bit in the center. And go smaller, because this one is further away. So you'd really just kind of see the idea of a clump. And there will be some overlap, but I'd like to limit that as much as I can, so that you can tell it's a lot of different trees and not just a bunch of leaves. These will be bigger because this is in the foreground, and it will be also darker. These really are like kind of great crazy trees. So to keep in perspective, which I'm not really the best at. I absolutely need to take some kind of class for help with that. I'm gonna have to mix more of this paint before I would like to. So the top of this tree is going to be like out, right? So just have There's going to be a big gap there because that's what they do. They're crazy. And now I need to make more paint. So I kind of have to get to a spruce color, and no idea how I did that. So I'm going to be a little crazy. I'm going to throw down some phthalo turquoise. A little bit more because I need a lot of this color. And then I'll come in with a couple of greens and see where I get. So that's more bright than I would like. I'm going to add in a like really muted green and hopefully not too much. That is, it's not exactly the same, but it needs a little bit more of something. That deepened it a bit. It's still like too bright green. It really wouldn't matter over here, but I really would like it to be fairly similar to what it was. I'm also going to use it like down in the forest floor and make smaller trees like baby trees with it. So if I just remember that it was a much lighter value. So I put some up here with lots of water. Not too bad. That'll kind of do. Yeah. I'll use this lighter value on these trees, and then if I need to, I'll grab some of that and kind of dip it in there so that there is like some, yeah, this is going to be too light, but so I can grab some of this and kind of drop it in and deepen it a little bit. And this one is closer, so I'll just use this one. And so much water on my brush. Oh my goodness. So much water. And just make this bigger up here at the top. And I'm going to leave that one alone. And now this one also. this is gonna kind of have some at the top, and these will be bigger because it's closer, and just a little bit here. That's it. And then over here, we're just going to have like the most bottom of the branches, like just coming down like that ish. So that's a start. Passing by and had to say that is gorgeous. Thank you. I'm really kind of trying on this one. I've wanted to paint these for so long that I really don't want to do a disservice. So yeah. So what I was thinking now too, like the floor needs some work, right? And that's going to be just a bunch of different browns and greens, and I want what's there to pop through in certain areas. But there should still be some like smaller trees, right? And the smaller trees are just more regular tree shaped. So I think I'm going to mix these two together so I get like a medium value of this color. And then I'm just going to kind of pop in some tree shapes, and they're not going to be perfect or exact or anything, but you can then kind of tell that there is a baby tree, right? And we're going to do different sizes and shapes, and they're not really foreground, they're not really background, but they're going to be tree-shaped blobs. And just add some interest to the background. Yeah. Somebody from the UK is calling me. But they will have to wait. I'll do like little baby ones back here, just to kind of even it up a little bit. You know, it's just a little tree. And then, okay, now we've got, I think I kind of want to deepen this one actually. This one is a little too transparent for my liking. I don't want it to be the same. So I think I'm going to take some of this beautiful deep dark green, mix it in with what's there, and then drop it in to give some depth to the center. Actually going to do that for all of them. That one's still too wet, but and I want to make sure that it has a lot at the bottom. There's like a glare. There we go. Can't see my own painting because the lights. So just deepen them up, but not exactly everywhere. And And I'm just going to tap away a little bit of this here. I just had a thought to kind of you can deepen certain areas on these leaves as well. Not everywhere, but in places of like high concentration of leaves. You can have a really nice two-tone there as well. Right now I'm just kind of like putting it where I guess I feel it would be. So more like in the center. Too much water on my brush. Okay, forest floor. The forest floor should have some green in it. Should also have a lot of brown. And I was thinking, I don't really have like this where this kind of lightest part was. That could have kind of come and made a nice little like lighter area, but I lost it a bit with the background trees. So I think I can just kind of mix in some greens and I do want them to be fairly darker. I'm obviously not going to toss in a spring green. But this seems like it would be like a decent forest floor green. But I'm not going to do anything specific, really. I don't know what I'm going to do. I just more want patches of green. So maybe they look like little bushes or whatever. Just to add some interest. Right. I do actually want to make that darker under there. I think I'll do that after though. This is just all foreground grasses, etc. And it can come through. Just kind of filling it in. Adding some, nothing's ever even, right? Adding a little bit more chaos. And I'll take that all the way down. And even come back in, since this is like now a darker color, and add it here and there. Make sure I stay with the darker color in front. I might have to actually pull in some of this in here to have a good contrast. Some longer pieces of grass. Sporadic. So some different layers. And then what I was thinking of doing, so I'm going to take some of this brown. I'm going to go a little crazy. I'm going to add in some of this violet into the brown. Gives it like a richness. Right? And what I should have done, I didn't think about it, but I should have kind of wet underneath these trees so the green and the ground like could kind of blend together so it's not as sharp. So I'm just gonna kind of do it now on these, and then I'm gonna come in with this color and just make that a little bit messier. Take some clean water and blend that. So I don't lose those really nice grasses, right? So now just everything is kind of wet here, and now you don't see exactly where the trees end, right? They can just blend. That one had a lot of paint, so I could do that easily. This one as well. But I'll still come back in and add some more green. So it's not, I don't have those lines of where it was. And then blend it with this brown purple mix. And it doesn't have to be exact, but I am going to toss it in all around. And blend this. so I don't lose those beautiful grasses in the front. That can blend too. Just gonna darken that up. Add some more green over here. So it's a little bit more loose in the front. And while this is wet here, I can come in some more browns, just some areas. And just soften this out so it looks a little bit more natural, but I still have, you know, different colors in different areas. Ish. I'm flying by the seat of my pants. I don't really know what I'm doing. I think you should watch me to learn that it's okay to make mistakes and to just play around, and not to learn like what to do, because maybe I went overboard on that. But it is a forest floor, and oh, it looks a lot more red on the screen than it does in real life, at least according to my screen. I am going to come in with some Payne's Gray. And I'm going to deepen in some areas, just here, there. It seems to work better more like underneath the trees. But I kind of have a drying line over here, and I don't really want that, so I'm just going to very carefully, with clean water, come down. I'm not going to like go over the grasses, but I'm just gonna blend it so I don't have that drying line. So I hope you can see what I mean. And it's just water, and whatever paint is up here will also fall down. Just so I can get rid of that drying line. Like-ish that. Like-ish. And I think I'm going to pop some black or Payne's Gray over here underneath the tree, because it doesn't make sense that it would be really light there, right? And then I can blend with this brown. Can put some of that brown over there. Get back on this side. And then I think I'll just pop in some of this green just randomly. It's all wet, and I think I want it that concentrated though. So just to kind of add to it and add little pops of green and grasses around trees. It could be whatever. Could be whatever. I think I'm going to just extend this a little bit. So this is like now taking a little bit of the green from what I had already painted and the green that was on my brush, and just making like a really light version of some grasses, so they kind of blend up more, I think. I think it's starting to look a little muddy in some areas, and I'm not sure I'm really crazy about that, but at the same time, it's a forest floor. It's not going to be, you know, pristine. It's going to be a mass jumble of colors. But I do think I'm going to grab some more of this darkest green, which is called Perylene green. And I'm going to keep it fairly concentrated. And then I'm going to come in, even though I said I wasn't going to use my detail brush, I'm going to come in with my detail brush and add some darker leaves coming up in the foreground. Sporadic, chaotic sizes, shapes, lengths. My dog wants some, but now she has to wait. So now it looks a little bit layered in the front with the darker stuff coming, like it's, you know, closer to you, and then grasses further on. This could be some kind of bushy type things. Ooh, look at this mix here between the sap green and the perylene. Isn't that awesome? It makes me want to make that happen, like on a painting. I think I'm going to add a little bit of detail to the trunks. I don't actually have a close-up of one of these trees, but I think I'm going to come in with my detail brush and this purple brown mix that I made for the ground. And I think I'm going to add just a little bit of texture to some of these trees. And it's not going to be too much up here, like where it's kind of bare, but more so down at the bottom and a little bit, just so it's not as smooth, because they seem very, I don't know, very flat, and could use a little bit more life, I think. This one was actually the one I'm most happy. Oh, I just put my hand in paint. The one I'm most happy with, because it really is quite dark at the bottom. So maybe I should darken that one up too. And just add some kind of stripes just to give it a little bit of texture. Oh, apparently I forgot to completely blend this one. Meh. And these differences are just so minute that it's not going to really matter, but I think like it's small things like that that add to it, at least when you're looking at it in person. I think I'm going to start to pull in some Payne's Gray and a little more purple and a little more brown. This is just going to be for down here. This this trunk in front. So where there is still bark on the tree, it's darker, and it's always at the bottom here, but this part is usually very clear, but not really flat. I mean, you can still, I could go in and add shadows and make it seem like it's round, but I don't really think this is the kind of painting for it, so like that. Maybe I'll do the same for some of these other ones that I've kind of ignored, that are a little bit more in the foreground than the background. I'm not filling it in completely. I still want there to be like texture. I'm just making some very thin lines. I'm gonna have to stop one of these times though and really try and get a better picture of these trees. Next time I go to Sweden, maybe, if we have time. Usually have to get home really quick to get the child. See, now I think that really kind of added to it a bit. And I think that purple really helps the brown kind of stand out. So I think I'm going to call that one done. And do my favorite, the unveiling. Veiling? Veiling? Veiling. There's somebody outside singing or yelling, but I think it's singing. This is my favorite part. I love taking the tape off. Okay. Does that look like a forest? I think it does. I think I might have to make some adjustments though. I just realized that I left like this really like kind of light line, and I think I was planning on putting some like bushes or just darker greenery in there. So I think I have to mix these colors. And I think I'll just do a little bit of filling in, and very indistinguished. Is that a word? It is a word, but what does it mean? I think if I do this, I'm going to lose like some of the trees. And so I'm kind of sad about that. But if I can pick up some of this paint, then it might be like a good at least different in hue, you know. So I can show the difference between the trees. I can go back and kind of figure that out, but I think this lighter value actually will work really well. Just to give like a little in between. That can stay brown over there. Just want to pick up some of this paint and lighten it up a bit. I'm going to come through with a slightly, really slightly wet brush and then have water fall off. Just kind of blend it in a bit so it makes a little bit more sense. Although that now doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but it's at least it's like a something green in the background and not like that lighter strip or whatever it was. Looking at it, I think I'm trying to like look at the screen and see what you see versus what I see, because it's always just a little bit different. I'm starting to think that maybe these background leaves, they could have been a little bit darker. I could even go in now and make them a little bit darker, but I also kind of like them light. I don't know. I really don't know. I like how the ground came out. I think that looks alive and, you know, like a forest floor, and there's some green things, but also a lot of brown things because, you know, it's dirt. I like the tree line in the back. I like that it's very like spotty in areas. I think it makes it look realistic-ish. Yeah, overall I'm pretty happy. I could have maybe done a little bit better on some of these leaves, but you know, I'm human, so yep. But now I'm going to call that one done. And I'm going to put it away for a couple of days, let it dry, and then see if I like it in a few days. But now I have a little bit of time left. So I'm gonna do some, I'm gonna do some flowers. What kind of flowers? I don't know. If you have a recommendation, throw it out there. I was just gonna do a Google search for some photos. And let's see, images. Find something that I like. And ooh, I found two things that I like. One, I don't know if I'd actually be able to pull off. So I definitely must try. So let me move all this stuff out of the way. And I need to clean my palette because I'm not going to use any of these colors in flowers. And I really don't like doing this, but I don't do it every time or even really that often, so I just have to get over it. I'll keep the greens though. I'll keep the greens and see if I can incorporate them. I want to increase my selection on cards that you can kind of get on demand instead of waiting for me to color or design or whatever. So I was thinking of doing some very nice simple flower designs. Actually, I was going to try that forest twice, but I definitely don't have time for that. So we're going to do flowers instead. And I want to mix up some colors. So I see this like lily kind of thing. And I don't know if these are like, they're kind of like carnations or no, daisies. That's what, they're kind of like daisies. So it's a mix between some pink, hot pink daisies and some yellow, I think, lilies. So I'm going to mix, let's see, I'm going to use some lemon yellow and get a lot of that, or decent amount on my palette. Should use a bigger brush because it's going to take forever. And I think I'll do that. I don't know if it's sitting next, because it's sitting next to the green, but this yellow looks very green to me. And I'm very sure that I did not contaminate it on, at least on purpose. I think it's just my eyes. So I want to get a good amount of that, and I'll do multiple layers so that I can have a little bit of depth. And I don't remember what I was going to say again. All right, so we're going to do yellow, and then we've got like a pink. I'm not sure if this is like It's probably a dyed flower, I would guess. But, so I'm going to do a mix, and I'm going to use some Quin Rose. And then I'm going to really bump it up with some Opera Pink. Oops. I think even more. I need to refill this one too. Yeah. There we go. And I'll just use different values of it. But bright yellow, bright pink. And then I'm going to use some of these greens that are on here. So take a little bit more of sap green. Get that alive. And then I'm going to pull in a little bit turquoise. Fairly light value. A little bit darker than that. And that's going to be my palette. And I may use some, probably like some nickel azo yellow. And or some yellow ochre as shadows and whatever on the flowers. I really don't actually think I'm going to be able to pull this off, but because I think I can't, I'm going to try. So I'm going to start with some yellow, and I think I'm just going to kind of try and get the shape of the flower first. I mean, I could just try and just do a couple of petals and work on each petal at a time, but I think I would rather get the shape down first, and then figure out what shadows go where or whatever. Then it's just a very simple point here. I'm kind of just looking at the picture and kind of painting. Oop. How many petals are on here? 6. Okay, so there's 3. There's one that comes back like this. And then there's another one that's more of a front view. It goes down like this. This one is in the wrong area, so I'm going to have to what's that word? When you kind of like change things as you go? That's what I'm going to do. And this is a nice big fat pointy one. Okay. So that's like the shape of the flower. And I just want to make sure that it's kind of like makes sense. Yeah, I'll do that first. And then I'm going to start with the pink. In the photo that I'm looking at, there are roses that are coming like around this flower, but I see a couple of different pictures that I want to kind of meld together, and instead I'm going to use daisies. Or I could use sunflowers, but those are bigger, so I'll use daisies. And what is the center of a pink daisy? Probably like a yellow green. So just gonna, there's the center that can be filled in after. And then I'm just going to paint a lot of petals. And try not to get my hand in wet paint. Like that. And I can come through after when it's more dry. But there's a couple of these around. There are a couple of roses, but as I said, I'm just gonna make them these like daisy looking things instead. And they're all going to be different sizes, shapes. Petals would be different. Nature loves chaos, like just loves chaos. So when you try and be specific and precise, it doesn't really look that good, that natural. I think I'm going to do a sideways one here. And I'll do like a 3/4 one here. So you would see a center, but it would be like that. And then the petals would come out from here. And then these would be very short and kind of nonsensical. Like that. And while these two on the bottom at least are wet, I'm going to add some water to this cream. And I'm going to make the stems. Because I want them to kind of blend. On these, they're still wet, but I can come up really close. I'm going to stop there. And if I was painting it, it would come down here. And this one, I'm going to try and not get my hand in. It's going to come at an angle like this, and then it would come down here. So I do want it kind of mixing in over on these two, and then not on those, because I think that looks really nice. I like when it blends like that. So while I'm here, I'll just make a couple of little leaves. Clean them up a little bit because I was messy and I don't like the shape. And some here. Like that. And then I'll add other leaves. Now, this is still wet, but it's not really wet. So, I'm going to go in with, I'm going to use the yellow ochre, and I'm going to try to use a minimal amount of water, and I'm going to kind of follow and draw out leaf shapes a bit. So like these leaves, this petal here would be behind, right? And I think maybe I should stick with one petal at a time there. So I'm just going to take some water and kind of soften these edges a bit. A little bit of shadow. But so that there isn't a line, I'm going to wet the rest of the petal. So now this one is in front here, and it does have a center, but I'm going to do that after. And I'll just keep going through. So this one is in front, so this leaf will come like, petal will come here on top of that one. And then this one will be in front as well. So just paint that in. And then this one is in front as well. Light water, and just blend that out and wet the rest of the petals so I don't have any. I don't mind lines exactly where the shadow starts, but I don't want them like in the middle of the petal unless I put them there. So now we have the center here, and then this one will come. Apparently I have kind of erased this one, so just gonna put it back in, and then blend it out again. Like that. And now the center. I think I'll take some of the nickel azo, and I'm going to try and kind of paint in some of the stamen that would be sitting there. So that kind of automatically becomes the center of the flower, right? And I will add in, what do I want to add in? I think I'm going to add in a touch of a light green, and I just took way too much. And that'll be there. Ish. All right, now I'm going to come back up to this one and a pink center. Oh, what would a pink center look like? I'm going to say that it would look yellowish and pinkish. So I'm just going to fill these in here with the nickel azo, and it doesn't have to be exact. Do you want it to actually overlap a little bit because it always has like smaller petals in there. Like that. And then I'm going to take a little bit more Queen Rose. And on this flower, I'm just going to kind of give the idea of where the different petals are. I'm not going to be too crazy. Just going to give some lines of interest. And they're going to dry a lot lighter too, but okay. And I think I'll do the same with this one down here. But I just did the center there, so I really want to actually make sure that I don't, actually I can touch and let it do it a little bit. That's fine. Add some darker pink in there. Oh, and it's going to take over the yellow. And I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to dry my brush and scoop some away. All right, I'm back in here to the pink. And I'll add some lines like this. And from the top going down into too much water, so just add a little bit there. And I'll do the same with the other pink flowers and give the, and this is just using the pure Queen Rose. And I do want to do some here. So just where there would be a shadow naturally from a petal overlapping another one. I'm not trying to get really specific, but I'm trying to get more specific than not, I guess. And I'm going to come out from that ring a bit. And some of it will bleed a little bit, and I'm okay with that. And then coming in. And I think I'm going to use a smaller brush for that. This one has a really nice, beautiful tip still. So some just nice fine lines. Just put my hand in it. Coming down from the tips of the petals. And they'll dry a little bit lighter, so you won't really see too much of them, but it's enough to add some interest and separation to the flowers, to the petals, etc. Yeah, and then I'll just do the same there. And then this one won't bleed nearly as much, so I'm going to come out first and do that kind of like inner layer of petals. Turn it in a way that I do not put my hand in wet paint. So there's like inside, and then natural kind of separation petals. And then again with some lines starting at the top of the petal and going down into the rest of it. Texture, shadow, can be whatever you want to be. We could just add a little bit more to it. All right, back to this guy. I lost that picture. There it is. So some of this green bled out, and I'm actually fine with that. And I'm going to take, there's going to be some lines in this petal and petals. So I think I'm going to actually mix in these two colors, and I'll add a little bit more yellow ochre to it. That's more browny than I would like, I think. Yeah. So I added a little bit more nickel azo to it. And now coming out from the center, there will always be lines on the petals to kind of but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some water and soften it on this side here a little bit. So you still have the sharp line on one side, and then a nice blend on the other. She said, hopefully. She said, hopefully. And I don't actually like how far this has come down, so I'm just going to blend that out a little bit more. And then I'll just do the same. This, I'm going to just deepen the shadow here a little bit. And then this one will have this line like this. And then another one like that. And I'll do the same and blend away from the center of the petal. Why am I doing that? Because I can. I think it kind of looks better-ish. I think I'm going to take a little bit of paint and kind of create a shadow right along the tip here. Okay. And now this one is in front, so this will also come up like this, and then like this. And this side of it. And this side of it. And then I'm going to skip this one for now, and I'm going to go down here. And this one is going to have just a couple not coming from the base, just fading. But I will increase the shadow here, because that is like the bottom-most flower. So just some water, blend that out a little bit, and then blend the sides over here. And the side over here, if it lets me. And I'm going to drop a little bit of color on the tip. And then I'll do this one and then that one. And this side one is going to have just, I think it's, I want it to be the exact same, right? So I think just going to put one here. And blend that out. I honestly don't know what I'm doing, so I'm faking it until I make it. But it gives a little bit of a difference. So not all of the petals are exactly the same. And then this tiny little one here will also have a deeper shadow coming from underneath. Like that. And then blend, blend, blend. For the center, I think I'm going to stick with that like really light green. I don't think I'm going to be doing too much work more to it, so I'm just going to kind of fill in this area a bit and fix the stamens. I think that's called a stamen, right? And then I think this also has some like little dark balls. And I'm going to use, no, I'm going to use this dark green color. And just like that. What are we thinking? My drawer just opens on its own. It happens to be my candy drawer, so maybe it's telling me that I need some sugar. What are we thinking? Besides, I'm thirsty. I kind of think I want to make the center a little bit darker. Like this one came out much darker, and then this one. No, you know what? I'm going to leave that there as it is. And I think I'm going to leave it all as it is, actually. And I'm just going to come in. I'm now starting to think this turquoise is not going to fly, but maybe if I mix it in with this, it will. That could look really nice. And then I'm just going to fill in this area with petals. Yep, just standard petal shapes. And I think I'm going to go between all of these greens. And I have just I think I'm going to switch brushes because this one is not doing what I would like. I think I'm going to give you a try for this. Let's see. Let's see how you do. You do okay. Add some shadow so I can have some kind of two-tone leaves. And fill this one in over here because I can. I don't want to really overthink this too much, but I want it nice and full. I think I need to add some more green to that. So I don't want to ruin the flowers. Just to fill it all up. And not put my and in wet paint. And not cover this flower. Okay, not cover that flower too much. Just add some different tones in some of these flowers. Almost done. Too much water. That's why I don't think I like using this brush so much. I'm very much not used to how much water it can hold, which really means I just have to use it more. I think I'll come in with this fairly light value and just put random leaves coming up and out. They're not going to make sense. They're not supposed to make sense. They're just filler leaves. Kind of like baby's breath. Just put my hand in it. Damn it. Okay, let's fix you. Let's take away some of that water. Just supposed to add a little bit of extra pizzazz, you know? Not supposed to make sense, really. Hmm. Actually, I'm not that big a fan of some of these leaves here. And I just put my hand in this one. So, see if we can fix that a bit. And I'm just using a really dry brush. And that's gonna bleed. Should have known. I'm gonna let that dry, and then I'll just make it a little bit bigger. And come over here. Can use some blue. Try not to put my hand in anything. Guess kind of like that. With the exception of this one, which now is really bugging me. And it's still gonna bleed. All right, I'm gonna call that done. I don't know if I'm exactly 100% happy with it. I may come back in a little bit later when it's all dry and I have a better mindset with it, but all in all, it didn't come out too bad. You can tell I was really intimidated to paint that flower too, but you can tell that there are different petals. I think I'll might do something like, I don't know if I want to use this color again. Let's try it with the yellow again. And just put some lines in to kind of break up the texture. But since it's the same color, you're not going to really see it too much, right? You're going to see it now because it's wet. But this could work too. Something like that. Once it dries, it'll dry lighter, obviously. Some of them you can't even see, like on this petal, which is what I want. So I might come in and change up some of the leaves and add some more depth. Not change the color, but just kind of blend in some shadows, etc. But that's going to be it for me today. So we've got this flower done and this scene done, and I'll call that fairly successful. Just do like that. Yeah, and we'll just call that a day. So I hope you got some inspiration. I hope you will try to do something that you haven't done before or are afraid to do. Maybe you just wanted to hear the dulcet tones of my growl. I don't know. But hopefully you're a little bit inspired and you like what you see. And yeah, that's going to be it for me. It's Friday, so I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend, even if you're working. And then I will see you back here on Tuesday, I believe. So have a great weekend, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.